Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Modded Skyrim. Last time we were crawling back through the first chamber of Madressa Dren's dungeon, and we're still there. Madressa Dren being the woman who's given us the quest to open up the tomb for her so she can get her hands on the treasure that she hopes to sell. Of course she's not going to get anything. Even if she does, I'm going to steal it back off her. This spooky dungeon is divided up into 3 sections. The 2 side sections need to be completed to open the 2 portcullises that are in the central section where Madressa Dren is waiting for us. I'll avoid these pots because they can actually damage my character. I've never been killed by one before, but they do take off around about a third of your health. Again though, the dungeon design here is absolutely epic.
Keep your eyes open for traps. Old ruins are usually filled with them.
I will take that advice to heart. Doesn't look like there's going to be a trap here though. I'll just proceed. It's generally not Draug traps that are the most dangerous. The Dwemer traps are the worst. The dart traps are quite lame. And the iron spear traps don't do that much damage, as you saw earlier. Hello, Lydia. This looks like something new. A Jorah's blanket. I don't think I've ever seen that before. It looks a bit like a cloak of some sort. There's no harm in taking it anyway. I don't think anyone's made a cursed object so far. Although they should. If you could have cursed objects like in Dungeons and Dragons, Baldur's Gates, that kind of game. Having some sort of mechanism where if you wear or take a cursed item, it depletes your stats until you can get rid of the cursed item. Of course you wouldn't be able to get rid of the cursed item just by dumping it. It'll be stuck to you until you get it removed by some special mission. This looks like a place where a monster would be. I just kind of get that feeling. Funny how you can get this feeling in computer games. Yep, just gonna back up here. Watch Lydia go for it. Villager seems to be happy having her back turned. Finally she reacts. She does have a really funny arg sound when she gets hit. I suppose that must be a really difficult sound to act though. I guess most people would swear if they've been hit. Not really suitable to say again and again though. Well, seems to be some treasure here. Lots of coins and rubies, I guess. I'll snatch all of that up.
I haven't seen that before.
I wonder how much harder these dungeons would be if the Draug and the undead could actually regenerate. Of course you'd have to make all the undead essential. I'm not sure how you could do that. Anyway, I think this door opens back into the main chamber. So that should take us back to the main chamber where the 2 closed portcullises were. There should be some sort of mechanism here or key that opens the portcullis for us. So far nothing but some random green potions. A little bit of gold and a silver ring as well. Basically just leveled treasure. There's a chest over there. I've been quite disappointed about what I've picked up.
I wonder how old this place is. Hundreds of years?
This scroll is quite useful. They summoned Frost Atronach. It's not going to be worth too much in terms of gold, but it's going to save my life once or twice. That looks like the lever that's going to open this doorway up. Okay, good, triggered that, so next mission is to open the other gate. So we just head over to the next chamber to do the same thing. That was not too tough in terms of the monsters we faced. We only faced some restless Draug and some normal Draug. And I'm level 5 at the moment. I think we'll see what Madrissa Dren thinks of this. That portcullis has
Only
opened
one
up.
more door left. Hurry up.
What a... Can't say what I think. Well, one of those doors is open, so we just have to open up the next door. Hopefully this part of the dungeon will be a bit shorter. I can't remember whether at the end there's a big boss. I can't remember whether you face dragon priests at low levels or not. Dragon priests are very powerful, they're sorcerers essentially. Plus they've got special skills and high powered dragon shouts. Perhaps some of them are locked for lower levels though. This room seems to be slightly different. This is the third barrow I think I've been in, and all of them have actually been quite different. There's been a lot of variation in them. I don't feel like I'm crawling through the same dungeon time and again. These stairs, of course, they're very similar to the stairs at Bleak Falls. That's forgivable though.
You made
They
a
do
big
end
mistake.
abruptly though, so there's going to be a drop down into that room. There's a draw waiting for me down there as well. I wonder if I can just pick him off with an arrow before I get down there. What I'm worried about is that there might be an ambush down there. 2 or 3 draw. I can't actually see anything or hear anything. I might have to risk it.
Where are you?
Looks like that sneak eye is closing down, so I don't think there's anything else down there. I think it's just going to be that one draug who's run off. I'll just drop down and chance it. Yep, it's quite safe. I don't know how my companions can get down here though. That must have been the draug that was lurking down here. Yeah, I don't know how Vilger and Lydia are going to get down here, because they generally don't like jumping anywhere. Although they sneak with you, they don't actually jump with you.
You
there's
made
Vilger.
a big mistake.
Gets hit in the back again.
That was tough.
Bill just sort of looks like Red Riding Hood.
There's something unpleasant with the smell in here.
I think all the companions and all the followers you have, they've got this warp function. So if you...
It smells of death, I think.
Yes, it does. If you move far
Yes,
away
what
enough
is it?
from them, they actually warp up to your location. I wonder if I should just leave her here and sort of chance it
Shall
by
we
myself,
continue?
but no, I'm too much of a coward for that. We'll take her along and see how it goes. I was watching someone else's Let's Play. That was of Arena. Basically that's the first game of the entire series. I think I just avoided that pathetic dart trap. Yep, it's completely missed me. Yes, but I was reading what someone had to say about Arena. They were
I
talking
don't
about
know.
all the lore that
I
was in
just
Arena
don't.
and how basically Bethesda have ignored that and they've just built up so many loose threads
You
of
will
lore
be so
and they keep on
dead.
inventing new threads instead of tying old ones up, and the old ones are actually really interesting. It's probably because they've invented so much or said so much that they've forgotten what they've said initially.
You leave
Well,
my
it
friend
looks
alone,
like as if
you
it's
bastard.
kill move time. Maybe that was too violent for me to see. That was a bit of a hack. I didn't pause it or anything, it just
I'm so glad
decided
that
not to
we're
show
traveling
me
to
the kill
Endurance
move.
Sanctuary
I think I'll
together.
just check Vilger's
Skyrim
stats to
wilderness
see
is
how
so
she is, because
scary
she's
when you're
actually
all alone.
far too tough. She's level 1, health is 140, stamina 62, magicka 62. Both her heavy and light armor are minus 99,978. I don't quite get that part. Light armor's 999,973. So basically, armor is absolutely useless for her. Maybe that's how they've made her wear clothes all the time instead of armor. But from her stats, she doesn't seem too overpowered. It may be she's just more powerful than me, because on Master difficulty, of course, your companions and followers get the same bonuses as the creatures do. So the creatures do much more damage to you, but then again, so your followers do much more damage to them, and take less damage from enemies as well. Lydia has decided to show up. She's just been scouting ahead. Even though she's been scouting ahead, I'm still gonna sneak around.
The looks of this place.
I'm sure she hasn't done a very thorough job of it.
You are as good as dead.
Like I was saying before, NPCs are completely fearless. You might be sneaking around the dungeon thinking, oh, what's around the corner? But they just run around the corner with no care in the world. Yeah, as I was saying before, there's so many nice pieces of lore to tie up. I suppose a lot of the initial lore in Arena was made up completely randomly, just to make the whole lore sound vaguely realistic. They had a whole universe to fill in then. But there was some really nice stuff, like the first tree that was ever planted in Tamriel. And it would be great to actually go back to these storylines and see what they were all about. I hope they just don't develop more new stuff. Of course, the whole design of the game has somewhat changed. Games in general anyway have changed. I think this is because the idea of a fantasy world has changed. This is a likely place for enemies and someone sitting on the wall. I will just have to check behind me so I've got some room to back up. Those narrow doorways are a death trap for me.
You are as good
At that time it worked. When I get some decent magic resistant gear, then I think I'll take up the front rather than retreating to the back all the time.
I kill you!
Even though I'm a thief based character, there's not really too much I can do as a thief. I don't think I can sneak past these Draug without triggering them. Unless I've got 100% chameleon or 100% invisibility. They are literally a scripted step off the wall, so even if you're a thief, you can't actually avoid these times of combat. If you could, of course, that would make the game a lot better, although I don't know how they'd engineer that.
Was that my fault?
Right now though, you're forced to fight. You have to fight. So even a thief needs good fighting skills. I'm mainly using my archery. So I'm more of a assassin type thief. I wonder if anyone's ever got through Skyrim without even killing anyone. Even an animal. Let's say apart from the main characters that you have to kill.
My fault?
Like you had to kill that dragon at Western Watchtower. But let's say you just kill the absolute minimum and no one else. I wonder if anyone's ever achieved that.
Can you please try and keep quiet?
Uh-oh, I think I've gone into the trap again. Vilger's blocking my way. Jumping past her doesn't work. She's not going to let me pass, so I'm going to have to try and fight my way out of this.
You
I'll
don't
use
get
my shield as well. Thankfully, he's not charging. Lydia's charging in though. That was a bit of a terrible miss by her. I'll be nice and help her out.
Come on, tell me how brave you are. What a nutcase.
It looks like Vilger's switched over to a bow and arrow mode, so she's not going to participate in our fights anymore. It suits me just fine. I was just thinking about what to do with her stats. She's at level 1, but her level 1 is equivalent to my level 6. Because her health is 160, and the 160 health, you could only get that if you were a level 7 character. You'd need 7 upgrades, or even a level 8 character. Level 7, I'll get my maths right. You'd need 6 upgrades to health to get to 160 health, which is 1 level above me. So I'm gonna keep her at 160 health and not upgrade her. See how she does. These little metal things on the floor, they make me suspicious there's gonna be a trap here. Doesn't look like there's gonna be any other way around it though. I'll just run into it, I think. Oh, what's the worst that can happen? Well, they don't seem to be a trap. They are just some sort of decoration. I don't really know what they are. What's the purpose of metal studs in the stairs? If anyone knows, let me know. Well, there's just this drawer at the top of the stairs we'll have to take out. Should be a piece of cake. I think I critical hitted him in 1, so I don't think we'll get any more trouble out of him. Initially I thought these were traps and these wooden logs would fall down and hit you. Well, these clearly are just some sort of random
Do you know the
metal
name
studs.
of this ruin?
All my cautions, not really worth it. Right, I see enemies up ahead. This corridor isn't going to offer me very good advantage for retreating, mainly because of my companions behind me. But there's plenty of room, so I can probably get off about 2 or 3 arrows into each draug before they run up to me. I think we'll see how it goes. We'll risk a little. I haven't died so far, so I'm kind of feeling I'm missing the sweet embrace of death. Well, at least one of them's down.
Big mistake.
We can make way for my companions to deal with the second guy. It's like a job share. Maybe they can collect the experience points, if there is such a thing.
Didn't I tell you I was good?
I really don't think Vilger suits that vampire armor. It looks far too skimpy on her. The male vampire armor looks good, but the female version looks a bit dodgy. I don't like the look of it. I'm probably a purist. I think that armor should actually look like armor and look as if it serves some protection, not just having an aesthetic component. Doesn't even have an aesthetic component to it, I think, on the female version. I agree with Vilger though. I think the leather armor probably looks best on females. I think some of the light armor, like the Thieves Guild armor that you get later on, does look quite good. I don't know if anyone's noticed, but these Draug dungeons seem to offer a substantially lower level of difficulty than the bandit dungeons. The bandit dungeons you had, even when they were open spaces, you had a
don't you think so?
bandit who could fire a bow and arrow, you had a couple of melee type bandits, so there was always the risk that you could be shot by arrows at the same time as you having to fight someone on foot, hand to hand rather. It's just not the case here, because you've got a long corridor where you can snipe your opponents. Of course, I don't think that Draugr or undead should really be too susceptible to sharp objects being fired into them. I'm not sure of the best way or the best lore way of saying how you could beat an undead, but I can't imagine that a zombie or an undead body would be that bothered being poked by a sharp stick, considered they've been munched by rats and skeevers for hundreds of years.
Dead.
It's like zombies in the George Romero type films. Why are they so vulnerable to a headshot when their brains are mush already? I would think the brain would be the first part to go, or the first part to rot away, when the rest of their body's been rotted. You'd have thought their brain would have rotted or turned to slush anyway, so what does a bullet in the head do?
We have to
But
be careful
definitely
so
for
we don't
Drawcare, an
get
iron
lost.
arrow should not do anything at all. Of course, there should be some sort of compensation to make them reasonably easy to get past, something like a very low detection range. I take it because their eyes have rotted away as well and don't have any proper function. That would make it perfect for thieves. So if you had Draug that were perpetually regenerating, you couldn't kill them, they were immune to physical damage, but they had a really low detection range. That would go for a very
think there are some
nerve-wracking
very
dungeon
dangerous
crawl as well, where
creatures
you
here.
had to sneak around these Draug. Perhaps if you killed the lead Draugr or the Dragon Priest at the head, then they would all die. I've just thrown some ideas around, because I can't work the creation kit. It would be nice if someone made a mod like that. We'll just let Lydia take care of everyone, I think. She's good enough.
We did well. Don't you
Villager
think
seems
so?
to think the same thing. We did do well letting Lydia do all the work. She sounds very smug. I also recall in several sections in these tombs, what you get is you get frostbite spiders jumping down from random locations as well, so you can't tell when they're actually coming down, because if you look up you can't actually see them on the ceiling. They could do that in Draug as well, because after a while you know which Draug are just gonna stand up from their graves, because you can see them lying down from a mile off, or you can see their coffins and you know that when you walk past the coffin then a Draugr's gonna just burst out. So it doesn't become, after a while, all these tombs and traps just become old news, and you're a seasoned dungeon explorer and think, oh look, there's another Draugr gonna come out. So if they actually jumped out just like spiders jumped out, that would be good as well. Of course, they don't have to jump down on spiders' webs or anything like that, but just generally fell down. Of course, you wouldn't want them dying from the fall, but if they fell down and surprised you, that would be difficult.
What was that?
You also couldn't pepper them with arrows
Could have sworn
before
I heard something
they
right
even had a
behind
chance
us.
to get up. Because rather than, at the moment, them surprising me, it's me that's surprising them. This chamber here is exactly the example of what I'm been talking about. There's loads of Draugr over here.
Didn't I
There's
tell
loads
you I
of
was good?
crypts where they're all tucked away. I'm sure loads of these Draugr will be lying down and they spring up, and hopefully, or how the developers imagined it perhaps, that you decided to walk along in the middle without even taking any caution, and of course they surround you and mob you and kill you. However you can exploit it. Yeah, that's what it is really. It's really an AI exploit that I'm doing. I don't enjoy it, but it's something that's so easy to do. It's irresistible to use this bow and arrow technique. Another random thought I have at the moment is that Elder Scrolls could really do with some sort of cleric class. You don't really get a cleric. You get vigilants of Stendar, but they're completely rubbish. They're basically just very weak warriors and mages.
This is actually
But you could
quite
really
fun.
do with a cleric class that could be buffed to take out the undead. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the potential that they've got in the Elder Scrolls,
mistake.
but it's not being used. We must have cleared our way through about 5 or 6 Draugr. Lydia just swept one away. I can hear them coming from a mile off.
You made a big mistake. Uh-oh, did I scratch your pretty face?
I don't know if you heard that, but Villager just said, "Ha,
I
did I just scratch your pretty face?" to the Draug. That was after a nice shield
Survive,
bash
that
to the
is.
face. But in the end, I think it's very much a personal choice of how you like to play these games. I know there are some people who like to play RPGs, just as grinding, leveling up their characters. And basically the battles take place through dice rolls as opposed to actual personal skill. I prefer a mix of leveling up that doesn't have too much effect on your character, but just some minor increases, and most of it being player skill on how you proceed. I know most people don't think first-person shooters are very much of a skill-based game, but they do rely a bit on reactions and a bit on skill, and much more than most MMOs and RPGs, which primarily don't rely on any management of your character and just rely on you leveling up as much as you can. This book is the Wraith's Wedding Diary. It's not that an entertaining book, it's not a skill book, but it's about an orc who's a thief and has the nickname of the Wraith. Initially I thought it was going to be an undead wedding, but it's not that, it's an orc who's due to get married. And the whole story is that practically on her wedding day she decides to get a wedding gift for her husband. And she's thinking of what to get her husband when she realises that there's actually going to be an opportunity to rob the shrine of Malakath. But she doesn't have very much time on her hands, so she tries out her wedding dress and decides to wander down to the shrine of Malakath, which is well guarded. Malakath is the orc Daedric god, basically. So this orcish bride decides, while wearing her wedding dress, to go and steal the armor, and she basically avoids an ambush and steals the armor and gets back to her wedding without even a scratch on her wedding dress, and they get married in bliss. It's a bit of a silly story, but I think it basically just shows that this Wraith woman was the best thief ever. I don't really think there's too much lore to be derived from that, except it's a silly comedy tale with a twist at the end, and pretty much all the books have this little twist at the end to show you how amazing some of the heroes are in the Elder Scrolls. That book's not worth very much, so I don't think I'll be mentioning it again. I'm sure this is the end of the dungeon. This door leads back to Angurvarde, and that's the way out again. Of course we haven't triggered anything. What we will need to do is to find another lever, trigger the last portcullis, and meet up with Madrasa Dren for the last part of the quest. Again, there weren't very many tough Draugr to fight. I think you were supposed to be overwhelmed with 7 or 8 Draugr in the last chamber. Of course that never materialised, and it never really happened. No treasure chests here as well. There's that lever up on the wall which I think I just need to pull to open the portcullises, get myself out of here. This is the main chamber that we were in. The sound when we pulled that lever, I'm sure that was the main portcullis opening. I'm going to be slightly cautious just in case there's going to be a monster coming out. I don't want to be killed after having made it so far. Although it's quite a small dungeon, this dungeon's taken around about an hour to get through. I can hear Madrasa Dren talking in the background. Also, I think that was a trap being set off as well. So I'm sure that's the end of Madrasa Dren. We'll go through the portcullises. This structure wasn't here before, and I think that this structure coming up is what killed Madrasa. This must have come up and chopped her or killed her in some way that I didn't see. Here's the fantastic treasure she died for. And what do we have? We've got a coin purse, a skeletal hand, and a broken sword. Doesn't really seem to be that special. We'll have a look at the broken sword, see if it's got any special powers. It just seems to be a miscellaneous item. It's not a quest item even. otherwise it would have been weightless. It weighs 4, so we're just going to dump it. Also, before we go, we'll check her body, see what she's got. She has some leather boots, which are quite good, and some healing potions, which I desperately need for the future. The leather boots have an armor rating of 8. I just wonder whether that's better than my current fur boots. I think that leather is better than fur. I did upgrade my fur boots into fine fur boots, so they've got a armor rating now of 8 as well, but the leather boots that Madressa Dren had, they were unupgraded, so these leather boots will be a lot better once I upgrade them. They're certainly worth having. I can easily upgrade them once I'm in the next town, so I'll keep it at that.
Making more noise than a flock of mammoths.
I'm just going to be quite cautious here. I'll switch some of my gear with Vilja.
Was that my fault? Yes? Of course.
I'm weighed down by everything. All the gold that I took actually weighed me down much more than I thought. I think I'll have to reduce the carry weight of the gold, because the current weight of gold is ridiculous. 1 ounce per gold piece you've got. It doesn't work. I'm sure it needs to be at least a tenth of that to be realistic. I just wonder now if there's any enemies. Here's the dragon shouting. Word wall obviously coming up. I just hope there isn't anything going to pop out of a coffin anywhere. Doesn't seem to be that much here.
My sister's afraid of rabbits. I'm glad I'm not, considering the kind of places you
There's the word wall. Nothing else yet. A chest. Okay, let's take the word. That word is animal allegiance.
do try not to set off.
Probably one of the more useless shouts that you can get. Imperial bow, Reverend. That Imperial bow will be quite useful.
I'm tired of this place. Let's go somewhere else.
But yep,
Of
this
course.
is it. There's no more enemies here, so I'm gonna wrap up here, and I will see you when we're just outside this tomb, because we don't want to go through this tomb again. I'll see you for the next episode of Let's Play Modded Skyrim.
Talk later.